G'day, I'm James Macpherson from Goldleaf Tree Services. Today I'm going to give you a few tips on planting trees. Now before you rush off to the nursery, there's a few things to consider. Take into account things like how much room do you have, what's the soil like, how much sun do you get. These things will dictate what sort of tree is going to grow best in that location. So today we're in this fairly small courtyard. We get sun through most of the day and the soil is fairly good. So considering those, I've chosen to plant this weeping cherry. Its branches will grow out and down rather than up, which is good in a small area, and they like full sun. When you're choosing your plant, there's a few things to look out for. Choose one that looks nice and healthy for a start. Choose one that doesn't have broken branches, things like that, or ones that look like they've been in a pot for too long. You'll always be able to tell because the trunk is going to be way too thick for the small pot. Okay, so now we've dug our hole. The main thing to remember is that you want a nice wide hole. Usually about twice as wide as the pot, even wider. Once that's backfilled, this will be a nice soft soil for the roots to grow into quickly. Don't leave the sides all glazed up. If you can, rough them up a little bit. What I've done here is taken some of the soil that we've just dug up. I'm going to mix through some of this organic soil improver. You can pick it up from your nursery, any nursery will stock this. Mix that all together and then we'll use that to backfill the hole. So that'll mean that the area that the roots are now in is just full of life and the plant's going to love it. Alright, now we're going to place it in the hole. Before you take it out, consider which way you want it to face. Because of the walls just here, I want this growth to come out here away from the wall, so that's a pretty easy one. Now essentially this is just sort of bare root stock, so don't really need the potting mix that it's in, so I'm just going to shake most of that off. Just going to place it straight in. One thing to look for when you're planting a tree is to note where the trunk ends and the roots start, and you want to just have the soil level just above there. It's not good for the tree to be planted, this far buried, because you can create problems with collar rot down these parts of the trunk. So what we're going to have to do here is just mound up some of the soil underneath to bring that up to a good height, and then we can backfill it. Okay, now that's sitting in there pretty nicely now. So now we're just going to use that soil that I mixed up before. We're going to backfill the hole, and then we're going to give it a good watering. Okay, now the tree's all backfilled. I'm looking really happy. I'm not a huge fan of staking, but today I'm going to put a couple in. Because the tree's a bit taller and the roots weren't really big, it's not a bad idea to put it in there just while the root system gets established. But I wouldn't leave them in for more than 12 months. Okay, one thing to think about when you're putting your stakes in, don't put them in too close to the tree. Don't put a stake in there, because as you can imagine, when it goes down, it's just going to hit all the nice baby roots. So bring it nice and wide, and 2 is good, and then you can tie bits of, like old stockings work well, and you can just tie the tree to the stakes like that, keep it nice and strong. Alright, so now we've got our stakes in, our stockings tied on, not too tight, fairly loose. We still want the tree to move a little bit. Now we just got to water it. Basically we want to give it lots of water, completely saturate the area. This will help to, if there's any air bubbles in there, it'll help to get those out. And obviously a tree that's just been planted is going to want to drink. Alright, so we've just given this tree a really good drink. When you're doing it, keep the water on until it starts to pool on the top, then stop the water, allow it to soak in, and then do that a few more times. That way you can be assured that the whole area will be soaked all the way down to the bottom, and that'll encourage the roots to follow the water and start growing nice and quick. Alright, so we're nearly there. Put some mulch on. Thing to remember with the mulch, any mulch is good mulch really. Be generous with it. But remember, the same thing applies with the soil around the collar here. Keep that free of mulch. Alright, you don't want the mulch piled up against the trunk, because again,
you can open the door to a bit of cholera.
Alright, the last thing we're going to do, you don't have to do it, we're just going to give it a little formative prune. It really depends on what you're putting in and how it looks. But for me, I'm going to shorten a couple of these really long whippy branches, shorten those up. If you had, say, 2 trunks that were too close together, you might prune one of those out. A formative prune when the tree's young really lays a good groundwork for it to grow on. So there you have it. Thanks for watching. Make sure you visit our website, goldleaftreeservices.com.au, for more information on tree management.